before you shop in a crowded mall or attend a holiday concert.
Yeah, the Better Business Bureau is warning that those tap-to-pay scams are on the rise, are also known as ghost tapping.
In the past 90 days, tap-to-pay fraud has drained over $286 million from American bank accounts. And if you're over 50, you're the #1 target. This scam is so sophisticated that even security professionals are falling for it, and it can empty your checking account while your card never leaves your wallet. Today, I'm breaking down exactly how tap-to-pay fraud works and the simple steps to protect every dollar you have. Watch until the end. I'll show you the exact defense strategy that stops this scam cold. Let's get into it. The transaction that changes everything. It starts with a purchase that feels completely safe. Your regular coffee shop, the one you've visited 3 times a week for 2 years. You tap your card, grab your latte, and head to work. Normal Tuesday morning. Nothing unusual. Thursday afternoon, your phone explodes with fraud alerts. 8 transactions within 40 minutes at retailers across town. Best Buy for $892. Target for $634. A sporting goods store for $487. 2 clothing stores totaling another $956. Your card never left your purse. You were at your desk in meetings the entire time these charges were happening. That coffee shop terminal had been compromised with something called a tap intercept device, and you never stood a chance of detecting it. A 41-year-old marketing manager from Chicago named Lisa Patterson received exactly these alerts while preparing for a client presentation. 8 charges, 4 stores, $2,969 gone in 40 minutes. She'd used that Starbucks location every morning for 2 years. When she called her bank to report the fraud, they told her all transactions were authenticated contactless payments. Her card credentials were used correctly. Without evidence of card theft, they couldn't immediately classify it as fraud. Within a week, Lisa was fighting her own bank just to get her money back. She didn't understand what had happened until investigators explained it. That Starbucks terminal had a paper-thin intercept device placed directly over the tap reader. Here's what Lisa didn't know. That device captured her complete card information the moment she tapped. The criminals never touched her card. They never broke into the terminal. They simply placed a device over the legitimate reader and harvested hundreds of cards before anyone noticed. Your transaction completes normally. You get your receipt. Your bank shows the correct charge. Everything appears fine, but your card information has just been copied, and within hours or days, criminals will use it to drain your account before you even realize what happened. What makes this scam particularly insidious is the targeting. Criminals aren't hitting random locations. They're specifically compromising terminals at high-traffic merchants where they can harvest hundreds or thousands of cards before anyone notices. Coffee shops that process hundreds of transactions daily. Fast food restaurants during lunch rushes, convenience stores near highway exits, parking garages in downtown areas, anywhere with volume and velocity. But here's what should make your blood run cold. The merchants don't know their terminals are compromised. The devices function normally, process transactions correctly, and show no obvious signs of tampering. Only when multiple customers report fraud and banks identify a pattern connecting to a specific location does anyone realize that terminal was harvesting cards for days or weeks, and by then, hundreds of victims are already fighting their banks for refunds. The criminals have moved on to new locations, and the devices that captured all that card data already removed and redeployed somewhere else. It's a perfect crime that leaves almost no evidence and countless victims in financial ruin. How they get inside your account. The scam operates in carefully designed phases. Phase 1, the installation. Tap intercept devices come in 2 main types. The first is an overlay placed directly on top of the legitimate tap reader. These are manufactured using 3D printing and thin film electronics to match the exact dimensions, color, texture, and feel of the original reader. They're typically less than 3 millimeters thick, making them nearly impossible to distinguish from the legitimate reader by sight or touch. The second type is installed inside the payment terminal itself. Criminals gain access by posing as maintenance technicians, bribing actual technicians, or exploiting physical security gaps during terminal servicing. Once inside, they install miniature components that intercept the NFC communication between your card and the terminal's processor. No visible tampering, no broken seals, nothing that triggers the security alerts you've been told to watch for. Phase 2, the capture. When you tap your contactless card, it transmits encrypted data via NFC radio waves. This data includes your card number, expiration date, cardholder name, and in some cases, the CVV security code. The transmission happens in milliseconds. The tap intercept device positions itself between your card and the legitimate reader. When you tap, your card broadcasts its NFC signal. The intercept device reads this signal first, captures all the transmitted data, then allows the signal to pass through to the legitimate reader. The real terminal processes your transaction normally. You get your receipt, the merchant gets paid, everything appears completely legitimate. But the intercept device now has a complete copy of your card's payment credentials.
Phase 3, the harvest.
Some devices store captured card data internally, and criminals return periodically to retrieve the devices and extract the data. More sophisticated versions transmit data in real time using Bluetooth to a receiver within range, often someone sitting in a parked car with a laptop. The most advanced devices use cellular modems, transmitting card data over mobile networks to criminals who could be operating from anywhere in the country. The devices are powered either by small internal batteries capable of operating for weeks or by harvesting energy from the NFC interactions themselves. Each time someone taps their card, the device draws a tiny amount of power from that interaction, extending its operational life indefinitely. A single intercept device at a busy merchant can capture 50 to 100 cards per day. A criminal team compromising just 10 high-traffic terminals could harvest 500 to 1,000 cards daily. Within a single week, they'd have thousands of cards to exploit. Phase 4, the attack. Once criminals have your card data, they have multiple options. They can create physical card clones by encoding your information onto blank cards with magnetic stripes. They can make online purchases using your card number and CVV. They can sell your card data on dark web marketplaces. Or they can combine your card data with other personal information from data breaches to attempt full account takeover. A 36-year-old nurse from Portland named Sarah Chen had her card captured at a fast food drive-thru. She used tap to pay because it was quick and she was always in a hurry between shifts. The drive-thru terminal had been compromised for 8 days. Within 12 hours of Sarah tapping her card, criminals made 17 online purchases totaling $4,293. They bought gift cards in amounts just under merchant fraud thresholds. Sarah didn't discover the fraud until 3 days later when her account was completely drained. Her bank took the position that since the criminals had her correct card credentials, she must have shared them somehow. Despite proving she only used the card at that drive-thru and nowhere else online, her bank denied her claim twice. After 6 months of appeals and hiring a consumer protection lawyer, she recovered $3,100. She permanently lost $1,193 plus $800 in legal fees. If a nurse working double shifts to pay her bills can lose everything from one drive-thru tap, anyone can. Hey, if you're realizing how sophisticated this threat is, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. These tactics evolve every week, and staying informed could save you everything. Why this scam is devastatingly effective. This isn't a clumsy card skimmer with visible wires. This is sophisticated hardware exploiting multiple vulnerabilities. Invisibility. Unlike traditional skimmers that required breaking into terminals, intercept devices sit on the exterior or hide completely inside. They're thinner than 3 credit cards stacked together. They match the terminal perfectly. Even trained security professionals miss them. Trust in technology. You've been told tap to pay is more secure than swiping. You've been told contactless cards have encryption. That trust makes you tap without hesitation, and that hesitation is your only defense. Delayed discovery. Criminals wait hours or days before using stolen data. By then, you can't connect the fraud to a specific merchant. You can't identify the compromised terminal. The evidence is gone. Normal transaction completion. The real terminal works underneath the intercept device. You get your coffee, you get your receipt, everything feels normal. There's no declined card, no error message, no warning sign. A 52-year-old accountant from Boston, someone who works with financial data daily, fell for this. She told investigators, "I'm careful with my money. I check my statements. I know about fraud." But this was invisible. The terminal looked exactly like every other terminal I've ever used. Every security measure I took was useless against something I couldn't see. She lost $5,847. It took 5 months to recover $4,200. The remaining $1,647 was deemed unrecoverable because she had authorized the original transaction by tapping her card. If a financial professional can fall for this, anyone can. Have you ever noticed something suspicious at a payment terminal? Share your experience in the comments. Your warning could help someone else. The merchants being targeted. When people think about payment fraud, they imagine sketchy businesses in bad neighborhoods or unfamiliar merchants they wouldn't normally trust. They think using tap to pay at major chains and familiar locations protects them. They're wrong. Criminals have specifically adapted their targeting to focus on merchants, where people feel completely safe and tap without hesitation. Coffee shops and cafes. These are prime targets because they process hundreds of transactions daily. Customers are regulars who return frequently. The quick service environment means people aren't scrutinizing terminals carefully. Starbucks, Dunkin', and local coffee shops all see high-volume tap usage from customers in a hurry who value speed over security. Fast food. Drive-thrus. The drive-thru environment is perfect for tap fraud. Customers are in vehicles reaching out to tap without close inspection. Transactions happen rapidly with no opportunity to examine equipment. The high volume means a compromised terminal can harvest massive numbers of cards before detection. Parking garages and meters. Urban parking terminals process thousands of taps daily from commuters and visitors. These terminals are often unattended, positioned in areas with limited surveillance, and used by people focused on parking quickly rather than examining payment equipment. A single compromised parking terminal in a downtown area can capture hundreds of cards per day. Convenience stores. Quick in-and-out transactions. Distracted customers, high volume. Criminals love these locations because the speed of transactions means no one lingers to inspect terminals. A 44-year-old attorney from San Francisco named Jennifer Martinez exclusively used tap to pay at a single coffee shop near her office. Same shop every morning before court. Same terminal, same routine for 3 years. She felt completely safe because it was her neighborhood, a reputable chain, and she'd never had any issues. One Monday morning, that coffee shop's terminal was compromised with a tap intercept device. Jennifer tapped her card at 7:30 a.m. By 11 a.m. that same day, criminals had already used her card information to make 9 online purchases totaling $5,847. 23 other customers who used that terminal that morning were also victimized. The device was removed by the criminals after just 14 hours of operation. By the time Jennifer noticed the fraud and contacted her bank, the evidence was gone, the criminals had disappeared, and she was left fighting for a refund. The coffee shop had no idea their terminal was compromised. They have security cameras, but the device installation happened during a morning rush when an employee was briefly away from the counter. The person who installed it looked like a normal customer. Surveillance footage showed nothing suspicious because sophisticated criminals blend in perfectly with regular foot traffic. And here's the part nobody talks about. The merchants often don't discover these devices themselves. Victims report fraud to banks. Banks notice patterns. Only then do investigators contact merchants, often days or weeks after devices were removed. The evidence is gone. The criminals have moved on, and dozens or hundreds of victims are left fighting for refunds. Why banks often won't refund you. This is what victims find most devastating. Many banks refuse to refund money lost to tap-to-pay fraud. When fraudulent charges appear on your account, all processed as legitimate contactless payments, banks often take the position that these were authorized by you. Their reasoning: the transactions were authenticated using your card's contactless NFC feature. Contactless transactions are encrypted and secure. The card data couldn't have been intercepted without your knowledge. Therefore, you must have authorized these purchases or shared your card information somehow. This puts you in an impossible position. You're claiming fraud, but the bank's technical evidence suggests legitimate use of your card's security features. You can't prove intercept devices existed at specific merchants because they've been removed. You can't prove you weren't at those merchants unless you have rock-solid alibis and documentation. The burden of proof falls entirely on you to demonstrate that you were not at the locations where fraudulent purchases occurred. Work calendars, GPS data, witness statements, surveillance footage, that you did not authorize anyone else to use your card or share your card information, that you protected your card adequately and didn't store card details insecurely, that the fraud occurred through technological compromise rather than your own negligence. Without evidence of specific compromised terminals and the intercept devices themselves, banks classify these losses as customer-authorized transactions and deny fraud claims. A 48-year-old teacher from Atlanta named David Morales lost $6,200 $293 to tap-to-pay fraud. His bank denied his claim 3 times. Their letter stated, "Our investigation confirms all disputed transactions were processed using your card's contactless payment feature at legitimate merchant locations. Without evidence of unauthorized access to your card information, we must conclude these transactions were authorized by you." David provided extensive documentation, work schedule showing he was teaching classes during fraudulent in-person purchases, phone GPS history proving he wasn't at those merchant locations, a police report documenting the fraud, news articles about tap intercept fraud at the specific coffee shop where his card was likely compromised, still denied. The bank's response, GPS data and work schedules don't definitively prove you didn't lend your card to someone or share your card information voluntarily. David hired a consumer rights attorney. After 9 months of legal pressure and $2,400 in fees, the bank settled and refunded $4,800. David permanently lost $1,493 plus all his legal expenses. A 55-year-old small business owner from Denver lost $8,400, money she needed for inventory. Her bank denied the claim, stating she had voluntarily used her card's contactless feature. She couldn't restock her store. She lost 2 months of sales. She eventually recovered $6,100 after 5 months, but her business never fully recovered. The financial loss was $8,400. The total damage was immeasurable. The next generation of tap fraud. As merchants implement anti-fraud technology and security measures, criminals are adapting with terrifying sophistication. Relay attacks. Some operations don't even need to install physical intercept devices anymore. They use portable relay technology that extends the range of your tap transaction wirelessly. One criminal positions themselves near you with a concealed receiver. A second criminal is at a completely different store with a transmitter. When you tap your card, the receiver captures that signal and transmits it in real time to the accomplice miles away. The accomplice's transmitter broadcasts your tap data to their merchant terminal. You buy your coffee. The accomplice across town buys expensive electronics using your tap credentials simultaneously. Shimming devices. These are razor-thin components inserted inside tap readers that intercept NFC signals without any external modifications visible. They're installed through brief access to terminal internals during maintenance. Once in place, they operate invisibly for weeks or months. AI-powered fraud. Optimization. Criminal organizations are now using artificial intelligence to analyze captured card data and victim spending patterns. The AI examines your transaction history, identifies your typical spending amounts and merchant types, determines when you're most likely to notice fraud, and schedules fraudulent transactions to blend with your normal activity patterns. Multi-source data aggregation. Advanced operations combine tap intercept data with information from other breaches. They capture your card at a coffee shop, then cross-reference it with personal data from previous data breaches to find your email, phone number, and address. With this complete profile, they attempt account takeovers, accessing online banking, and making large transfers. A 47-year-old cybersecurity consultant from Seattle named Robert Chen was a victim of next-generation tap fraud. He used his card at a parking garage downtown while attending a security conference, ironically, about payment fraud. He's trained to examine terminals for tampering and did his usual inspection. Nothing seemed off. The criminals used a relay attack. There was no physical device on that parking terminal. A criminal in the parking garage captured Robert's tap signal wirelessly and transmitted it to accomplices at 3 different retail stores across the city. While Robert paid for parking, those accomplices used his relayed credentials to make simultaneous purchases totaling $4,847. "I literally teach companies how to prevent payment fraud," Robert said. "I know every warning sign. I inspected that terminal carefully. There was nothing to find because the attack was completely wireless. That's how sophisticated these operations have become." If a cybersecurity professional can fall for this, anyone can. How to protect yourself. Rule 1. Stop using tap to pay with debit cards. The most effective protection is not using the vulnerable technology. Insert your chip card instead of tapping. The extra 3 seconds could save you thousands. Rule 2. Switch to credit cards for all purchases. Credit cards offer fundamentally better fraud protection. Fraudulent charges don't drain your bank account. You're disputing charges before you've paid them. Federal law limits your liability to $50. Most issuers offer zero liability. Reserve your debit card exclusively for ATM withdrawals. Rule 3. Enable real-time transaction alerts. Set up your banking app to notify you instantly for every single transaction, every purchase regardless of amount. every decline transaction, every online transaction. The moment a fraudulent charge appears, you'll know immediately. Rule 4. Freeze your card at first suspicion. The moment you notice a charge you don't recognize, even a small $15 test charge, freeze your card instantly. Don't wait to see if more charges appear. Don't assume it's a legitimate purchase you forgot about. Criminals start with small test transactions before executing larger fraud. Rule 5. Check your account daily. Don't wait for monthly statements. Log into your banking app every single day. Most tap fraud is discovered by victims, not banks. Your vigilance is your primary defense. Rule 6. Set low daily limits. Contact your bank and cap daily debit spending. If you typically spend $100 to $200 per day, set your limit at $300. Higher limits only help criminals if your card is compromised. Rule 7. Never trust safe locations. Major chains, familiar coffee shops, regular merchants. Criminals target these specifically because your guard is down. Inspect terminals even at trusted locations. Rule 8. Report suspicious terminals immediately. If you notice anything unusual about a payment terminal, color differences, loose parts, unusual thickness, report it immediately. Tell merchant staff. Contact corporate security. File a police report. Your report might prevent dozens of victims. Rule 9. Use mobile payment apps carefully. Apple Pay and Google Pay offer additional security layers, but the terminals themselves can still be compromised. The app protects your actual card number, but criminals are adapting to target mobile payments too. Rule 10. Educate your family. Make sure your spouse, elderly parents, and adult children know about this scam. One conversation could save them everything. This scam is spreading because it works. High success rates, significant payouts, low prosecution risk. The average victim loses between $3,000 and $8,000. If you're over 50, scammers see you as the ideal target. They're counting on you not knowing how this works. Now you know. Have you been hit by tap-to-pay fraud, or have you spotted a suspicious payment terminal? Drop your story in the comments. Your experience could help others recognize the warning signs. Subscribe now and turn on notifications so you don't miss the warning that could protect your entire family. Stay safe out there, and next time you're at a terminal, insert your chip instead.